Hi, this is the first of two videos that I'm doing today, so I'll try and get them all posted on the same day, but chances are they won't be, but it doesn't matter. The first one is the books that I read in December, so it's my sort of December wrap up. And I managed to read 11 books, amazingly, even though December's a really busy month, 8 of which were Kindle. I seem to have really been hammering the Kindle this time. The first book I read was, when I find all my notes, was Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea. This was a gift, and it tells the story of Santiago, who's a fisherman in Cuba, who is on a really dry spell because he hasn't had a catch for 84 days, and he goes off and he catches the fish of a lifetime, and it's the battle, the 3-day battle that he has with this fish, and it's a story that's tense, it's a story that changes his perceptions, it's a life and death struggle, and it was a really nice read. The second book was on my Kindle, and it was The Dovekeepers, and this was the retelling of the story of Masada, the siege of Masada. And I found that a really beautiful book because it tells the story through the voices of 4 women. It's a fictional retelling based on the story, and it's the story of these women and how their lives interweave, and it's heartbreaking. It's one of those books where you know what the ending's going to be, but it doesn't matter because what you're interested in is the human story. My third book was a non-fiction, again on Kindle, and it was Mary Beard's Women and Power, and she looks at the way women's voices are almost silenced, and she goes back through her study of classics to show that, you know, the first time a woman's voice gets silent is in the Odyssey, when Telemachus tells Penelope that, you know, to go back to her room. And she looks at women's power and how power changes, how women change to get power almost. They start wearing the suits, and taking Margaret Thatcher for an example, she lowered her voice to become almost more masculine. So that was an interesting analysis and interpretation of women's voices and women's roles in society, in sort of power. The next one was a young adult, and it was The Star Outside My Window, and it was a book about domestic abuse, and it was again on my Kindle book, and it was, although it was heartbreaking, there was hope at the end of it. You followed the story of Anaya, who had blocked out what happened to her mother, but deep down she knew that her mother had died because she believed her mother's heart had become a star, and so she was chasing this star across London. And there's a story of hope, and it's beautifully narrated, so that was one of the highlights. The next one was Patrick Ness's The Knife of Never Letting Go, and I devoured this one. It was the first in his Chaos Walking trilogy, and it was, wow, it just kept you going. The story of Todd, who discovers that his whole life has been based on lies told to protect him, and the battles that he has to try and escape, and it just kept you going on and on and on, and the tension was riveting, and the climax, wow. Right, I do need, in 2021, in this year, I do need to get to the second book. It's upstairs, it's on my bookshelf, and I will get to it because I need to know what happens. The next one was Away with the Penguins by Hazel Pryor, another Kindle book, and it's a book about woman, Veronica Macready, an 85-year-old, who is a very bitter woman who, at the start of the book, you just do not like her, and she decides to visit Antarctica and the penguins, and it's a real story of hope, of family, of almost, I would say, forgiveness. Maybe not forgiveness. No, start. Maybe not forgiveness, but it's coming to terms with the past. It's funny, it's eccentric, and it's a real nice, easy read. The next one was, what is this one? Let me see what this one was. Oh, the Poetics, another young adult one, and it was a book in verse, and it's the story of Xiomara, who is the daughter of a devoutly Catholic woman who took her religion to the next degree, and there are heartbreaking scenes really with Xiomara when her mother disciplines her, brutal scenes, but at the end of it you see Xiomara coming to terms with her sexuality, her body, and finding her voice, and it's an uplifting book, and I haven't got round to doing it, but I would love to hear they listen to it on audio, because I think the author actually reads it herself, and I would love to hear the poetry performed. And what else? What I did, I can't remember what book number I'm up to next. Oh yeah, the next one was a book that I was sent by NetGalley to review, and it was the Moorlanders, and it was the story of Caradoc, who with his friends needed to defeat the evil wizard who was planning to destroy the moorland, destroy where they were living, so that he could mine the minerals from the moors. And the battle scenes are so tense with this one. Again, it's one of these books where the tension gets up a scale, and you've got beautiful descriptions of Dartmoor and the Tors. Historical fantasy for young adults, and another nice read. This one I'd recommend it. But one of the ones I would recommend is I've forgotten the title of it. The Twisted Wood. The Twisted Wood. Again, sent to me by NetGalley, and it's set in snowy Norway, and it's full of Norse myth and supernatural, and so creepy. It's an ideal winter read, absolutely ideal winter read. The third hardback book that I read, not hardback but physical book, Sarah Waters' Paying Guests, and that was a book almost in two parts. You have the story of Frances and her relationship with the Barbers in the first half, and then an event occurs, and the second half keeps you going because you do not know which way it's going to go. You do not know until the end how the book is going to end. And so that was The Paying Guest. The final two, The Glass House, again on Kindle. This was like a thriller. It's a set with two timelines. You've got Rita, who is telling her story in the 1970s, and Sylvie, Rita's granddaughter, who's Rita's daughter, who is talking about the present time. So you've got the two timelines and the interweaving of the stories, and a mystery to solve. And all the threads at the end come together so beautifully. So yeah, that's another one to look out for. And the final one was a book of poetry, Alexa, What Is There to Know About Love? And it was by Brian Bilston, and a really uplifting book full of poems about love in all its different forms. Humorous, poignant, so easy to read, so easy to dip in and out of. And yeah, absolutely go for it. That was also sent to me by NetGalley. My book of the month, I would have to say it was The Twisted Wood, because I loved the creepiness of it. I love the creepiness and the supernatural. So that was my December wrap up. So let me know what your book of the month was, and I will see you next time. And so take care, happy reading, like, subscribe, notify, you know the rules. Take care, bye.